Hi, this is Vicki Robinson. In an earlier video, I showed you how you can easily use these shadowed frames to clip your photo so that you don't obscure these cool custom shadows. These were relatively easy because, as you can see, the centers of these frames are completely transparent. But what happens, what do you do when the frames are a little bit more complicated? As you can see in this set of photo clusters, you've got these flowers and other bits of these elements overlapping the frames. And even on this gift that was made with a freebie, that was made with my Junk Journal 3 collection. Well, let me show you how to do this because the technique is actually the same as we did in the first video with a little added secret sauce here. Here's a page by my creative team member, Jana Holden. She's using Junk Journal 3, and you see she's got this really cool picture of a ballet dancer, and we've got this same freebie element that's here. So I'm going to show you how we take this photo and clip it here. I've already got a piece of watercolor paper open, and I've gone ahead and put her photo on it. Let's go ahead and take this freebie cluster. Let's see, where did maybe it's there, and I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it on top of my tab that has my paper and the photo in it, and then I'm going to let go. Hold down the shift key, that'll center it, and let go. So the first thing you can see is obviously the photo is really big. Let's move the frame into place about where we'd want it. I think this is about how she had it. Now obviously, very obviously, you could get out your eraser tool and you could erase the portions of the photo that fall outside the frame. That's easy to do. But the problem with that is that's a destructive technique, meaning that once you've done that, the only way to change that is to grab another photo, another copy of the photo, because your pixels are gone, you erase them. So if you're positive you're not going to want to change anything about your layout, you can certainly go ahead and do this. But in this instance, I want to show you how to use a non-destructive technique for getting rid of the rest of that photo. First thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the layer that contains the frame. Make sure that you're selected on that layer, and then we're going to go grab our magic wand. Now the magic wand is located here under the selection tools. It's actually nestled beneath the quick selection tool. So if you see this, just click on the quick selection tool and then look in the menu options below and you'll see the magic wand. It's got a little yellow bright star in it, kind of like a magic wand. I should mention that I am working in Photoshop Elements 2021 today, but these same steps will work in every version of Photoshop Elements as well as the full version of Photoshop. So now that we've got our magic wand selected, we want to make sure that we've also got the continuous box selected and that anti-alias is selected. So remember, we've got our frame layer selected, and inside the middle of that we're just going to click with our magic wand. And now I'm going to zoom in really close so you can see what's happening. I know it's very hard to see. I'm just holding down my space bar as I'm moving my mouse because the marching ants blend in too much. You can see them here. You can see what a great job Elements did of actually selecting all the way around the hand here. Let's go up and see what it did here. You see that the butterfly, it's a little hard to see because the edges of the butterfly are black, but you can see it didn't actually go all the way to the edges of that butterfly. There's probably a couple of reasons for that. One, the butterfly could have a shadow, or even more probably the edges of the butterfly are black and so is the photo background, so Elements had a hard time distinguishing what was what. So we're going to need to work on that a little bit, and let's just examine the rest of the photo. It did a good job up here, it looks like, and let's see if there's any other places that stick out to us here. If we come all the way down on the bottom, and I'm going to zoom in even more closely, I don't want to make you dizzy here, but I want you to be able to see this. You can see how it didn't quite get to the edge here. So there's a little bit, there's going to be a little bit of blank area there, but everything else looks okay. This corner, maybe a tiny bit on that corner. So let me zoom back out here. Now, one of the things that you can try here is we can try to modify our selection to see what happens if we make the selection a little bit wider. To do that, I'm going to come up to Select, Modify, Expand. We're choosing expanding because we want to grow this selection a little further. And let's try 5 pixels. Change this to 5 and say OK. If I zoom in here, you can see that it did a much better job right here, but it also went too far into this label and it's gotten way too much of this figure here. So let's undo, Control or Command Z to undo. That's going to put us back to where we were, but no worries because I've got the magic secret sauce that's going to tell you how to fix this. We've got the inside area of our photo selected. Now we're going to click on the photo itself. Remember, we made our selection on the frame, but now we're going to come to the photo, and up here in the little toolbar, we're going to click on the blue box that has the circle in it. In older versions of Elements, this is at the bottom of the screen. It's also going to be at the bottom of the screen in the full version of Photoshop. We're going to click on that and watch this magic. Elements has used what we've selected and masked out the portions of the photo that were not inside our selection. Isn't that cool? This is a non-destructive method of getting rid of these extra pixels. Non-destructive because now if we want to change it, we can get rid of this photo mask completely. We can delete it, or we can fill it with white and start all over again. But all we have to do now is take care of these areas where Elements didn't do the best job in removing or including parts of the photo that we needed included. Let me zoom back in here, try not to make you too dizzy. And as you see here around that little butterfly, it didn't take enough, it didn't select closely enough to this butterfly. But because we're using a mask, we can fix this. I'm going to choose B on my keyboard to get my brushes, and then from my default brushes, if you don't see defaults, they're here. Just click on this little menu here, choose the default brushes. I'm going to come and choose my hard round 19 pixel brush. The size doesn't really matter. I like to start with the 19 brush, but we're going to be able to change the size of the brush if we need to. Want to make sure that the opacity is set to 100%. The mode is set to normal, and we can leave the brush settings and the tablet settings if there are any alone. Now we're going to paint away, or add back in, I guess I should say, the black background closer to the butterfly. We want to make sure that the mask is selected. We can tell that it's selected in our layers panel because of the blue bar around the mask. Make sure that is selected. And I want you to notice here, the outside area is black and the frame is showing, and the white area shows you how much of my photo is showing. So if I want to add more of this photo showing, I need to make sure I'm painting on my mask in white. Coming over to my color chips, I can see that white is already my foreground color. If yours is not, you can press the D key to get the default color chips, and then X will exchange the foreground color and the background color. So I'm going to change my back to X again so that white is in the foreground. Remember, I've got my brush tool selected, and make sure I'm painting on my mask. I'm going to just paint right around the butterfly. Because I'm painting on the mask, I don't have to worry. See, I can't paint over here because I'm painting on this mask attached to the photo. Look how quick and easy that was. Let me hold down my space bar and come all the way down to the bottom here. And you can see, I'm going to zoom in real close. You can see how, remember I said Elements didn't quite go all the way to this little clock here. So also I'm just going to click and drag my black brush down to here so that it paints back in the portions of the photo that it missed. Let me zoom back out. Wasn't that easy? So the trick is to select inside the frame, then attach a mask to the photo, and then use the brush tool to erase or add back in bits of the photo that you needed to have showing or not. Let me show you that one more time with one of the other clusters here. I'm going to delete this photo mask, right mouse click on it and say delete layer mask. And let's delete this as well. And let's come up here to, I think we're going to come down here, and here are these clusters that I showed you earlier. Let's go ahead and open up this one. I'm going to click and drag it onto my workspace here. It's going to put it in my photo bin. So I need to click and drag it onto my page that we started out here. And let's click and drag it into place. So you can see this is much smaller. So I'm going to first make my photograph a little bit smaller because I want all of her in. A Control Command T to get the transform handles, and then I'm clicking and dragging on the diagonal here to get her closer to the way I want her in this photo. That looks good. So now to repeat, remember what we're going to do. We're going to click on the photo layer, the frame layer, and then we're going to come and get the magic wand tool, and making sure that we're on the frame layer, we're going to select inside of the photo itself. Now let's take a look at what it did this time. I'm going to zoom back in. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going to zoom back in, and you can see it missed quite a few areas here. It missed around here, and it didn't come around this flower close enough, and it didn't come around here close enough. Everywhere else looks okay. Now again, the reason that it didn't is because I'm sure of this one, because the flower actually has a shadow, and Elements can't tell the shadow because it's black from here. So once again, we're going to make sure we're on our photo layer, click on the mask tool, layer mask, and now we can even more easily see all the areas that Elements missed. But don't worry, remember what we're going to do? We're going to switch to our brush tool. Make sure that we're painting with white as our foreground. Make sure our mask is selected. And then I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to use the right bracket key on my keyboard to make this bigger, and then watch. I'm just going to click and drag over here. I don't have to worry about painting over my flower. Why? Remember, because I'm on the photo with a mask. I'm not on the frame itself. So I can just paint back in here all these areas of this white, where I can see the white watercolor paper. See, I'm not even being very careful about it because I can't mess up. But you see, I'm on here, so I can't paint on my frame. Let's come up here and do the same thing here. Make your brush a little smaller if you want to. Just go along that line. There you go, and come back in here. Let's take a look at the rest of it. Yep, great job. So there you have it. That's how you can easily use a non-destructive method for adding your photos to these more complicated photo frames. If you'd like to try this yourself, head over to the link below where you can download this freebie from my shop so that you can play and give it a try yourself. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks for watching.